let's talk about the IES. This video is just going to give you a quick overview about the functionality that is possible with the current IES to give you an idea what it is used for and what it is capable of. For more detailed information, go look at the documentation or at other videos. So under InfraFounded Cloud, we can log in with our credentials. Just going to do that right now. And now we're logged into our entity of the IES, which means under the accounts, we see all the accounts registered with this entity. And of course, we can create new accounts inside the entity here. Then the next writer is the data views. So here you can see all the data views registered with this entity. You can download them, you can view them, you can edit them and delete them. And to create a new data view, we go to the data view designer, which is under dataviewdesigner.infraphone.club. So here we can just use the data view designer to create a visual data view. And we see here it creates a JSON, which we can then download. Going back into the IES, we can then add a data view, give it a name, give it a version, and then just upload the JSON you just created with the data view designer. Then we have the devices, which show all the registered devices with your entity. We can see here the device ID in the first writer, then the group they're associated with, which I'm going to talk about in a second. We see the firmware version, we see the state, the creation date, and the time they last we've been online or had a connection to the MQTT, and the charging status at the last. Then we can do provisioning, and for the provisioning it's important to understand the group, site, and entity level. So what we can do is with the devices, we can add them to a group. We can add the group to a site, and the site is connected to the entity. So in all these three hierarchies, we can change configurations. So we can change basically which files to put on the devices when provisioning them. So let's say we have a group which we want to put certain data views on there in the allocated and the unallocated state. If you don't know about the states, go look at a video or the documentation explaining those states. For now, we can just we can change the alloc data here. We can upload files or edit them directly, and we can insert a global config. And also additional to that, we can upload different files. For example, if we want to display a certain icon in a data view which is specific to that group, we can upload that icon here, or just a specific config for the group. We can just upload files from our computer here. And of course, firmware versions we can upload here and then update to a certain firmware version. Okay, so we can do that for the group, we can do that for the site here, and we can do it for the entity. And how it works is it will check and merge all of those three different levels. So the entity will be overwritten by changes in the site config, and the site config will be overwritten by configurations in the group itself. All right, once we've finished that, we can do the provisioning here with single devices or multi-devices. If we want to do multi-devices, we probably want to filter them by certain attributes and then do the multi-device action for all of them. And what we can also do is refresh the state we can edit them, so assign the device to a new group. This vibrate is just to check if everything is working, if there is an MQTT connection there, firmware update, and a manual reboot from the backend. Okay, so now let's add a device and do a provisioning. Okay, so to add a single device, we just need the device ID. We can find that on the display in the front when it's in unallocated state, or we can see it printed on the back. So we just need to put in that device ID here. We can add the device and of course also assign that device to a group. And now we can see it in our device list. You can see that there is no firmware version here, so I'm just going to do a refresh to trigger that exchange with the backend. And after a little while, we can see it has updated the firmware version. Okay, so now I'm just gonna do a little test if it vibrates. And it does. Okay, so now we're good to do a provisioning. I'm gonna trigger that provisioning here. And if we click again on it, we see the active provisioning in the window. We can see here on the left all the files that are being transmitted. And on the right, we see a provisioning log. And so the device is now entering provisioning state and downloading all of those files. And so we can see it was successful in downloading all of them, and it's gonna enter a reboot now. And we're finished and good to go with the new files.